Hello and welcome out to this episode of Outbreak Gamers. I'm your host, David Anthony, aka WEBDAVE is my gamer tag, and I am here. Well, I'm pretty excited, guys. I'm just gonna admit it right off the bat. I'm here with Colt Eastwood. Colt, how you doing, buddy?
Really well. Web Dave, thank you for being so patient. I'm glad that we get to sit down together and talk about how we make it all happen. You're running your own podcast. It is crazy work. Sometimes you don't know how you're going to make it through the day, but it's so worth it to connect with this community. They're amazing.
Definitely, most definitely. Like I was telling you pre-show, it's like started this because I really enjoyed watching content and content creators, and I watched Mr. Boomstick, I watched Dealer, and watched RDX when you were on there, and then you kind of broke off and did your own thing. It's like, well, this is cool. Let's go see what's Colt's doing. And it's like, wow, talk about a lightning strike, man. Great, great. And then of course, like I said, where you are now, and it's awesome because to me, you're not only, I think you're good for the community because of your outlook, your positivity, and it's you bring a really a good fresh take, and you play games, which is awesome. So, dude, thanks again for being here.
No, thank you. I mean, you named off like some of my best friends, like this community, all the podcast people, and I've been able to be on their shows. They've been on my shows. It's really interesting. We all work together and kind
Hmm.
of, hey, let's, come and hang out on my show. And it just brings this real community. And I mean it when I say this community is amazing because the people in the chat, when I'm watching the show, I'm looking like down over in this direction over here because I'm watching what the chat's saying.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for them, we would be recording into a blank TV screen and a camera. It just really does mean a lot. They're such a big, major part of the show. The people we play with, the people we hang out and do shows. So yeah, I really am really very grateful.
Yeah, and it shows. It really does. That's another nice thing about it too is that and you're a pretty humble guy, and it's nice. It's just it's a like I said, you're one of the good guys, and so that's a good thing. Unlike me, I'm a turd, but look at me. Oh, it's on you,
Yeah.
don't want you, baby. Yeah, all
We do have a little bit of
right.
fun here or there.
Of
Yeah, yeah, a
course
little
you
bit of
do.
fun, a
Of
little bit of
course.
yeah, a
Of
little bit
course.
of this, a little bit of that.
And your new co-host, which we'll get into a little later, kind of keeps you on your toes too, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah, it does get a little dicey with Tim. I love it.
Yeah, but it's exactly. All right, so Cole, let's I guess start from like what kind of jobs have you held in your lifetime? Like how did little Colts get started in the in the world of jobs?
Well, fortunately, I have a really great dad who, said, get out there and get things done. I'm not going to help you.
Nice.
So, yeah, I just spent Father's Day weekend with him. He's amazing. He said, hey, they're hiring over here. Go get a job. I made a decision early in life. I guess early in my life, since we're old, right?
Yeah,
Um,
at least I am.
what when I was 16, like I was big into baseball, and my dad's like, "Do you want to keep playing baseball, or do you want to get a job and get a car?" And I said, "Well, I guess it's time to grow up." And that was my thought at 16. My first job was at Little Caesars Pizza. I
Nice.
absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. Never got sick of the smell of the food. Never stopped eating it because I was around it. I don't know. That was my first job. Just really enjoyed it, but that doesn't like really get me into gaming.
Well,
Like you're not going to work
but
at
you got
Little
to start
Caesars and
somewhere.
you got to
Everybody
start
starts
somewhere.
somewhere. Exactly. So what other kind of jobs and guess or schooling if that helps you? Like
Yeah,
what have
no,
you gone into from there?
I've been basically working since I turned 16 and got my
Yeah.
driver's license. I've been working every day or every week since then. So I've always been employed and receiving a paycheck. Um, yeah, it's been a crazy life. I've worked in retail and
Mhm.
really enjoyed that. And closing stores out and opening them and things like that when I was younger. When you're
Yeah.
just like just an 18 or 17-year old. And when I got into my 20s, I got into computer aided drafting. So I went to school for that. So I have an
Nice.
engineering background, which is really strange. And basically, to fast forward to anything that really is relevant to our conversation, I'm an illustrator. I've always liked design and graphics and stuff like that. So a real stable job for me was in computer aided drafting and engineering. So I had a really great job doing that. And then I kind of got turned over. They're like, you should apply for this job within here where we're working, where you can use your graphic skills. And so I'm kind of a self-taught graphic designer. And I
Nice.
worked around two amazing graphic designers that went to 2-year trade school for graphic design. They're outstanding guys, and they taught me everything they knew, and I was learning as much as I could. And I just built up this experience of creating what I thought was really great graphics in Photoshop and vector graphics and Illustrator, and just learned how to do logos. And I also had this video background way back before I got into college. I also did videography work. So I learned to use photography and video cameras and analog editing of video, where you would have buttons and levers where you analog, you didn't have a timeline on a computer screen. And this is in the late 90s. Really crazy to think either of those are magical in their own respect. So basically what happened was I had this graphic design and this video, and always like to create different things. And I wanted to pour it into something. I kind of poured it into my job as much as possible. And it was YouTube where I finally found my ultimate creative outlook, which we'll get to that later on. But that's basically what my background is: strange in graphic design and engineering, and,
awesome,
and also
man.
Marketing, which is strange too, because I've worked around big communications teams and marketing teams for major multi-million-dollar projects. So I've learned by osmosis, the PR approach and how to break things down and how to present a message, I guess. So it all kind of creates this little monster that I am, I suppose.
Well, it seems to have worked out for you so far. No worries. I have a fly. It in no time did he bother me all day until right now.
I had one during a podcast. I had Randolph Thor, who's an excellent Xbox YouTuber. For anybody who's listening who may not know who everybody is, but he was on my show, and I had a fly, and he just kept pointing it out during the show. I'm like, Rand, stop! I'm trying to pretend like it's not here, but it's amazing.
Exactly. Anyway, I'll stop. So anyway, I guess how did you get started into gaming? Is I still swat that fly? Oh my.
Well, I mean, I guess anybody. I don't really tell people how old I am, which is kind of a dumb.
That's fine. That's fine.
Like, why does it matter, right? You can look at my face and you can realize about how old I am. I think people pretty much. But I started out gaming on an Intellivision because my parents bought an Intellivision after, I think, around the time the video game crash, right? Like Atari was like bloated over, and there was the Mattel Intellivision, which was great. I didn't know really what an Atari was like. I only played on the Intellivision. I had great experiences with it. And as a young person, 7 or 8 years old, you get hooked into video games pretty quickly. And the Intellivision went into a toy closet somewhere, and it wasn't like 4 or 5 years later. Yeah, about 4 or 5 years later, my parents came home with a Nintendo Entertainment System. They went on a trip out of town, and we stayed home with my older brother, and they brought home this NES with the light gun. It was the Duck Hunt Super Mario Brothers bundle, the gray zapper with the red trigger, not the orange one. And I couldn't believe it. My mom and dad brought it home on a Sunday, and we sat down, my brothers and I, we played Super Mario Brothers all evening. And my mom said, "You guys got to shut it off. You have school tomorrow." And I thought, school, what's that? Like seriously, what is school? And I'm like, I'm not going to school. I have a Nintendo now. And
that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's like, Mom, I really want to do this. This is a lot more fun than school. I'm learning so much here. Yeah, I'm with you. So I guess from there, what are the kind of systems? I guess what was your system journey from there? What got you in? Because obviously, Xbox and PlayStation, things like that are definitely a part of your future now.
This story is very, very interesting, I think, because like most people, they just kept buying the new Nintendo system, and then they said, "Oh, PlayStation's out," right? That my story is nothing like that. So I'm going to put you guys into a time capsule of about 1993. Okay, so anybody who wants to do the math can figure out how old I am. Who cares, right? But 1993, we young and. Nah, old enough, I think, Dave. Old enough, right? So 1993, my parents bought us the Super Nintendo, and we put the NES in the closet because we had the Super Nintendo, playing Street Fighter 3, F-Zero, a bunch of other games. And I was like, Nintendo was my life. And I was about 15, 14, I can't remember. But I have a younger brother he's awesome. And we were like inseparable. He's 18 months younger than me. So my younger brother came home one day from school, and I'm sitting there playing Street Fighter on that Super Nintendo. And he's like, "You playing that Nintendo still?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "You know, all of my friends at school call you Nintendo Freako." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You're a nerd. No one plays video games." Now you got to remember, in the early 90s, of course, video games were really popular, but in the 90s, if you liked video games, you were a nerd and you were a loser. As horrible as that sounds. And so my younger brother calling me a name and saying his friends were making fun of me, I thought, and I have this I have this personal problem I've carried my entire life, that if somebody labels me as something, I will just burn that bridge and walk on. I've actually overcome that. Otherwise, I'd burn my Xbox the way people treat Xbox fans. But right. So in 1993, I put down the controller and I seriously like stepped away completely at that point. I was so embarrassed. And then that fast forwards to about months later, my dad said, "Hey, do you want to play baseball or get a job?" So I left behind video gaming pretty much for the next 10 years.
Wow.
Which is super crazy. For people don't do that, but also keep in mind that as I turned 16, I was getting into the age where I was going to leave the house and go to college and all that stuff. So I went on this path where I left the house, I started college, I got engaged and married, and we started having kids. So there's this time here where I thought, I can't fit a console, knowing how addictive I am with video games. I can't buy a dedicated console. Now, I did play a lot of games. I just missed out on the Nintendo 64 era. I would go over and play at my friend's house. We played GoldenEye for a few hours, but the whole thing about me buying a console and taking one home with the limited money we had, as being a student and stuff like that, right? I wouldn't justify it. So we had an HP Pavilion, this old $500 PCs they sold at like Costco if you're in the US or in my part of the US. I would buy a couple of games on that. Like I played the original Rainbow Six set of games. I played Roller Coaster Tycoon like crazy, and a few other games, but like I would just kind of dabble in video games. And I was in a band back then too. So I had a lot of things going on in my life, but I stepped away from gaming for almost a decade, to where mostly, Dave, when I say I stepped away from game, I didn't know what games were coming. I didn't know what the best system was. I didn't know what the hottest game of the year is. I didn't know what studios made any games. I was just really a super, super casual. And what a change from now until then.
Yeah. I mean, well, but there's nothing wrong with that. And obviously, you did okay. I mean, girls are nice to be around too.
Yeah, I mean, and at the time, being young and married, I did spend a lot of time in that guest bedroom of the place we were renting, playing on that computer. When you play Rainbow Six, for anybody who's super, super like classic gamer, right? The old Rainbow Six games on PC, you spent 30 or 40 minutes planning out your squad's attack before you went in and started controlling the game. And so I spent a lot of time playing that game and annoyed my wife quite a bit. But I also I did a lot of home recording. I recorded guitar and vocals and stuff at home. I was in a cover band when I was 25. Gaming was just something that was a little more entertaining than TV. But to fast forward into 2007, let me move you guys into the future. In 2007, the 360 and PS3 were super popular, and they were so mainstream that regular people talked about. People at my work were talking about the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, and they're saying things like Halo and Gears, things that I'd only heard about on the periphery of what gaming was. And so I kind of got this, like, I want to get back into gaming. And the funny part about this story, Dave, is And I hope these stories are interesting enough, but
Oh yeah.
I had an itch to go back to gaming so bad because it'd been almost 10 years. I went on the computer and started watching videos by the Angry Nintendo Nerd because I was like,
Wow.
I personally got, like deep in my heart, this thing hit me in '07 where I'm like, remember 10 years ago when I loved Nintendo games? And so I found Angry Video Games videos where he was breaking down what was horrible about these iconic NES games that I miss playing, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games, the Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden, and stuff like that. So I started watching those, and it's kind of like, don't go shopping for a car unless you want to buy one because you will get. Are you like this, Dave, where if you start
Yeah.
shopping for something, you will just funnel yourself into a purchase?
Yep.
And that's what happened. So, since money was tight, I had 2 kids. We just bought a house. We bought our first house. I was out of college, had my first real job, thought everything was going pretty good. And so I thought, I want to buy a console. So I bought the original Xbox from my manager at work.
Mm-hmm.
My boss, he's like, hey, I'll sell you my original Nintendo. Xbox. I've got like 25 games. So for $100, he brought me a grocery bag
Nice.
with the Xbox 5 wired controllers and like 25 game cases. And he's like, whatever you don't want, take them down to GameStop. And I'm like, what's GameStop? This is how far out I was. And basically, I played Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and I was hooked on gaming, where I was playing every moment I had free time when I wasn't changing diapers or working in the yard. But so I'm back. I'm an actual gamer again.
Excellent. So now we've got you up to where you're back hook, line, and sinker into games. That's awesome. So you were let's sidetrack a little bit, but
Yeah.
I mean, because obviously you have a nice, it seems like to me, a nice collection of musical gear behind you. So
Yes.
what instruments do you play, and or if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, no. I'm a total hack. I play piano by ear, so I can only play like 15, 30 sort of songs by how I interpret how they should be played.
Right. Still, that's
So
cool.
I can play the piano decently, but I'm a lead singer. I'm a vocalist first, high
Nice.
tenor. So anybody who's watching this show that is like a Gen Xer, like a lot of Journey. I've got a Journey record back here, a lot of Boston, a lot of like 80s rock where the vocals are really high. So I've done that for a long time. So when I was in cover bands, I was shredding my vocals. We used to play every week at a sports bar, and I'd sing for about 3 hours. And for the next 4 or 5 days, I'm like, hey, everybody, that was a really great show. And I was young, but I also have been playing guitar for 20 years, and I need to be a lot better, but I have like 8 guitars in here. I love the acoustic, but I have some electric guitars, and
nice.
Music's a big part of my life, no matter what I'm doing, even if I'm gaming. So
Right. Well, that's awesome. Well, I mean, I don't know if you noticed over my shoulder here, but I have a drum set back there. And
now, is that an electronic drum set with actual pads on it?
Oh yeah, and it's actually just got another upgraded again last year, a new Simmons set. I love acoustics and been playing in garage bands for years. And there's a bass over here, Kramer bass, which I dabble at
see
bass.
it.
But drums were always my passion. Started playing them in middle school, and then just being out in bands and garage bands, and then doing the local circuit of bars and stuff like that. I've been there, done that. But I play drums and a little singing, but mainly backup stuff, kind of thing. But always loved it. And then kind of fell out of it for a while. And then because my ex-wife at the time decided I should sell everything. Yes, dear. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Well, now anyway, but one of the reasons she became my ex-wife. No, I'm just kidding. But it happens, kind of thing. And then but at some point I decided I got the bug back a little bit, and my new wife, she's, God bless her, she's receptive to whatever. And I got a really nice acoustic set, but I noticed every time I would start banging away on it, my dogs would run to the hills. So I sold that, got an electric kit. Just so it's still for me to enjoy playing, without having to, piss off the neighbors and D, scare the crap out of my dogs. So, but yeah, music, like you, man, it's hard to get away from. It's always fun.
Yeah,
So
I was in a cover band with friends about a year before my channel started going, which we'll get to that in a little bit. But
yeah,
we're actually getting together in August to do a little show. So
awesome.
it's good to get back into that. It'll be interesting to see how I shred my voice, because now that I do a video every week, or I'm doing the podcast every week, I don't have to worry about getting on the mic and my voice being gone. But
Right.
we're just going to do a one-off show. I'm looking forward to that, because there's
Well, I
so
for
many
one,
things to do in this life, for
of
sure.
course, I for one hope you record it, and then maybe you don't have to share it with anybody unless you find little snippets of it that you want to share with us. But at least you
I
hope you
might do
record it for
that.
yourself.
I actually shared on Twitter a couple months ago a little clip of me singing and playing the piano. It was like a little 30-second clip, and
Yeah,
people are
I
like, "Oh,
remember that.
he does that." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's that's fun. It's fun stuff. Maybe I
That
will
is
do
cool.
that."
Why not? Right? I mean, if
Yeah.
anything, keep it for yourself. So that when you're really old and you're back in my day, hey kids with the grandkids, when dad used to play. Oh shoot, but you never know,
Yeah,
right?
for
So,
sure. For
but yeah.
sure.
So, like I said, like I noticed the guitars behind you. I noticed the album collection. So it's always been kind of just one of those curiosity questions. It's like, what has he done? And so, thank you for sharing that with us. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So let's get into, I guess, obviously now you're back into gaming. So let's get at, I guess, how you became from playing games to like you. I mean, you make what they, there's a lot of people out there that say, there's videos on YouTube, and then there's a Colt Eastwood video. I'm just saying, there's a bar about your video prowess and how you make your videos, and I think it's fantastic. And I know there's a lot of people out there. I've tried making a few videos, this live and this recording type thing. This is my forte. Making
Mhm.
videos like what you do with the editing and everything like that. Who just not turn out good. So, but what you do is fantastic, and I think it's great. So I guess, how did you get into the video part in YouTube? How did that kind of come together?
Um, well, I mean, I work with a guy that does video production for where we work, and I always
Hmm.
thought, how do you approach the subject and build like a video that tells a story? And it seemed like such a foreign concept to me,
Hmm.
but he's
To
been doing
me,
it for years, because
yeah,
I could take clips and put them together and have a point to make, but then there's no beginning. A produced video needs like an intro and a beginning, and it comes to a conclusion the right way. And like, that was a foreign concept to me. But I got into content creation on YouTube because of the Xbox One DVR. Because
mm,
before, in pre 2013 or 2014,
hmm,
if you wanted to record gameplay content and make YouTube content off that, you had to have a really decent PC, and you had to have a capture card, and you had to know how
right,
all those work together while you can play the game, still be recording. Like, it was way over my head at that point. So when the game DVR came out, I'm like, I can just string together 5 clips in Upload Studio, send them to OneDrive, and then I can use them to build videos that I want to talk about. But mostly the reason why I got into YouTube was I didn't want the Xbox One, Dave. I,
mm,
I was I was on the remember when I told you I bought the Xbox original in '07?
yeah,
I only had that thing for 6 months. I was so hooked in, I'm like, I got to buy a 360. So it was at Christmas in '07, right at the end of the year. By
hmm,
the early spring, I went and bought an Xbox 360. I had a brand new current console, wireless controller on a 1080p, big TV mounted on the wall. I felt like I
nice,
was king.
yeah,
And because I'd never had anything like that, I had the Xbox original hooked up to a 27-inch CRT TV that was decent at the time, but those big TVs were becoming new. Anyway, yeah, it was. I felt like I was king at that point to have
hmm,
a really nice console with wireless controllers. So I was playing games with my daughter when she was 4. We were playing Star Wars Lego like all the
awesome,
time. Drove my
yeah.
wife crazy. Like, we would yell at each other. It was so funny. I used to call her my younger brother's name when we would get mad at each other. I would feel like I was back playing with my brother, and we would laugh about that. But
That is funny.
the game DVR is why I started making content. I'm like, okay, I actually have gameplay that I can put into videos, and I was using Windows Movie Maker, which is a free program on Windows. And back then I held on to Windows XP, because when you moved to Windows 7, you couldn't use that program anymore. It didn't do the same things.
Right.
So I kept my computer this is in 2014. I purposely kept my computer stuck at XP so I could make YouTube videos, and I would upload them at 480p. They're really, really bad. And I would record my voice with my phone. I would go in the other room and turn on the memo recorder and like say, and basically my videos were, well, I kind of got ahead of myself, but I did get way ahead of myself. I didn't want the Xbox One because the showing was so horrible. I was on the 360 every night with friends and loved it. And the Xbox showing really bothered me. And so I told two of my friends that I played with every day, I said, I think we're going to get this PlayStation because I don't want a new Kinect. I don't like what they're showing. Let's go to PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't last because my best friend bought the Titanfall Xbox and he's like, you got to come over and play this. And I was like,
yeah,
okay, this console is way better than they showed it. And so here I am stuck in this thing, Dave, where the whole world tells you don't buy an Xbox One. Mm-hmm. And I have it in this room and I'm talking to the Kinect saying volume up or volume down or Xbox record that. And I'm sitting back enjoying like Titanfall and Dead Rising and stuff. I'm like, this is a good console. And I have a message to share. So I had this this motive to explain to people why this console is really great, because people online were horrible and arguing and insulting anybody who had an Xbox.
Yeah. That was definitely the kind of the sentiment at the time, which, you know, is unfortunate, but yeah.
For the whole generation.
I mean, they kind of did it to themselves. TV. You know.
Yeah, and they were just they were making wrong turns at every move in that first couple of years. They weren't bundling the console properly. They finally got rid of the Kinect, which is one thing that Phil Spencer did when he was just kind of making his way in to start leading the charge on the Xbox One. And I was on this online forum every minute of the day when I wasn't gaming, like in between stuff going on at work or when I was home and we're just kind of lounging around, or I'm laying in bed trying to go to sleep. I was on this forum that had a couple thousand people that were actively every second talking about PlayStation versus Xbox. And so a lot of arguments ensued. And I'm getting these big arguments and gather all this information. I'm like, I have some really good points to whatever people are mad about this week. I can make a video on that and explain how it really is for Xbox. Cool. And, but nobody watched my video.
So, we gotta start somewhere, right?
Well, and I mean, to tell you where I started, I started my YouTube channel in 2006 when YouTube was brand new, and I put up a video of a guy, a coworker, doing something funny. I was really into shooting firearms with friends, so we would go out target practice shooting. We'd shoot bottles of colored water and stuff and have fun. And I would put these videos up and nobody would watch those. And then I started making gaming content. And with like 35 subscribers, like think about it, Dave, I was making in this community, you can start a channel and get a couple hundred subscribers fairly quickly because everyone, like I said at the very beginning of the show, we're all really connected and very supportive of each other. Like, hey, watch Dave's video. This is great. Watch his podcast. Go check out Dealer's podcast. It's so great. Go check out their stuff. But I had like 35 subscribers. I would make a video about how Xbox has more higher rated games in the beginning of the generation. This is a dark time for Xbox, but they were actually had a better offering than PlayStation, but that wasn't the narrative from everybody else. But I made this what I thought greatly produced video, and nobody was watching it. I would get like 17 views and 2 comments, and one of them was one of my best friends. So they were tough times for sure. And it went on that way for quite a while.
Right. So I guess at some point, since your channel wasn't doing, I mean, either, I guess, was that when you started becoming like a guest on other shows or ran across?
No,
at some point you became, a solid member of RDX. So what led you up to that?
in 2016, the year before RDX, I was really learning how to make the videos properly. I would write a script, so I'd make sure it had a good intro and the message was there, and have a good synopsis at the end, like a good recap. And the
Mhm.
videos would like end with sometimes the videos would just end abruptly. I would just be making a point in the video to end, and like people online would say, your video just ended. What happened? And I'm like thinking, I don't know. I'm just trying to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
So when Ghost Recon Wildlands was announced, they had this 7-minute trailer, and I brought it into the video program and I cut it down. There was actually a 1 minute and 30 seconds of actual real gameplay in this long Ubisoft trailer. And I cut it up. And when I watched it, it looked really, really cool. And I said, I should make a video with this footage that I took the time to cut up. So I wrote a script. I dug into all the information we knew about the game that was coming out in 6 months or 8 months. And I
Mhm.
made this little 3-minute video saying everything we know about Ghost Recon Wildlands. And it blew up. Like,
Yeah.
for my size, it blew up. It got, wrap your mind around this. I had
Okay.
about maybe 400 subscribers at this point because I've been
Right.
doing gaming YouTube for about 2 years. And this video got 60,000 views, which to me was 30 times more than I would ever get on any other video.
Yeah.
And I spent 6 or 8 hours on these videos that I would make. And I couldn't believe it. I remember looking at my phone and my subscriber count hit 1,000 and I was over the moon. And I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Anybody who does a YouTube channel hits 1,000 subs, you are really doing something special, because that is not an easy task without being involved in some major group that will help push you along. So
Right.
that was 2016. And then later on that year, I found Dealer Gaming's channel. That Dealer is a major pivotal part in me actually having people that watch my content. He's incredible.
Yes.
I didn't know who Dealer was. I watched his videos. He seemed to put something out every couple of days.
Mhm.
And I would watch them, made sure I watched every single one of them. And I loved his stuff. And you get to this point, right, Dave, where you're watching someone's content enough, you feel like you know them. So I almost felt like Dealer was like this buddy I know that I work with that makes these great videos. And I would sit and watch them, and I'm like, oh, Dealer's telling me about the latest thing. And I thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
But one day, Dealer replied to one of my videos. It was when Forza Horizon 3 was coming out at the end of 2016. One of my favorite games ever. And I did this, why are people hating on this game just because it's Xbox or something like that? And this video maybe got 1,000 views, but Dealer said, I don't have many subscribers or many followers on Twitter, but I shared your video. And he had like tons of likes on this comment. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't? I'm thinking, what do you mean you don't have very many followers? Because at the time he had like 8,000 subs, and I thought he was a superstar.
Yeah.
So Dealer reached out to me and said, hey, I want to talk to you about your channel. More people should be watching. Your stuff's really great. And so we got on a phone call, and he said, you need to do this. You need to change this. You need to change your thumbnails. You should be doing your thumbnails this way. One of the funny things he said, Dave, was my thumbnail, I would have a picture and then the title, and then in the corner about this big on the thumbnail, like 25% of the thumbnail was my profile pic. Because back in the day, the YouTubers that were really popular, their profile picture was like in the bottom corner of their thumbnail, so you could see it when you're scrolling through. And Dealer says, get rid of that. It's not doing you any favors. And I was like, what? So Dealer gave me all these little pieces of advice. And this is how it is with Dealer. The next couple of videos, my viewership was like 2 times, 4 times, or 5 times. I couldn't believe it. From that moment on, my channel was actually doing things. And also, this was early in 2017. Digital Foundry was about to get their hands on the Project Scorpio specs directly from Xbox.
Yeah.
So we were both reporting on that stuff. And Dealer's like, I'm starting a new podcast. Do you want to be on it? But a guy like Next Gen 720, who was in the Xbox community back like 4 or 5 years ago, he had me on his podcast a couple times. So people got to see me, and then a few more people watched my videos. So they were big parts of my channel actually being seen by people, which means a whole lot, and led to a major life-changing situation for me.
Yeah. It's I mean, the chemistry that you guys all have is it's almost magical. Let's be honest. I mean, because you guys, you're friends,
Mm-hmm.
You're all passionate about, the gaming community, about the games, and but yet you still, you're like playing with your brother, giving each other a little shit and a little ribbing,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, and
Oh,
that's
big time.
oh my god,
Big time, especially with
it's
Dealer.
great. Yeah.
Dealer, he gives the most crap to anybody. Like when you're in a party or playing a game with them, he will beat you down and we'll have some good laughs about it. So
Yeah.
being on RDX, we talked every day, all of us. We all game together, Fonz and Luca back then was on the
Yeah.
show, and Zucker wasn't there yet, but we all played together every day. And then when we got on the podcast, we were already keyed in, and Dealer's such an amazing host.
Hmm.
He's so good at the entertainment factor. Like he just keeps it punchy and keeps it moving and motivates us to be on our toes and be ready for the topics. It's a great time. And I did RDX for about 4 years every
That's a long
Tuesday.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I guess, because I've had Dealer on, and Dealer said at some point he was like, maybe you should, the way he says it is that he helped encourage you to start your own channel. I mean, to really do your own thing, as it were. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
basically
Yeah.
with RDX, I did that show for so long, and there were so many of us on the show with strong personalities that
Yeah.
there was so much to say and not enough time for everybody to say it. And
Right.
I was also thinking about going on camera, and so I thought there were some shows where if he let one of us, we would run the whole show because there's so
Hmm.
much to say from all the stuff we dive into. And so I thought I gotta do my own show and get on camera. And what I want to do, because RDX was really great. We wanted to get guests on, Dave, but
Hmm.
getting guests on didn't really help the show. As
Right.
crazy as it sounds, like we learned that if it was just the boys, back we had Luca, but I say
Yeah.
boys as in as a colloquial, right? If it was
Yeah.
just the crew, that was the show. You didn't need to bring on, like Dealer could have brought on Jason Ronald and Mike Ibarra and Bill Stillwell from the old Back and Pat team. He could have brought those people on all the time, but we just learned that the crew got it done every week. And
Yeah.
I wanted to do something where I was on camera and I could bring people in from the community or from the industry. So I couldn't do that on RDX, and doing 2 shows every week would have been crazy. So it was a really difficult decision because
Of
it almost
course.
felt like I was asking to break up, break away from the band that I love so much.
Right.
And it was really, really difficult because it almost would have been better if we just hated each other and had to go our own separate ways, because it made it so difficult because we're all so loyal to
Yeah.
each other, and we've been closely knit for me, it's been 5 years. And for Zocker, he came in a year later. So for 4+ years, we've all been really closely knit. And
Yeah.
but we all kind of want to have our voice as well, like make a
Well, of
solo album, I
course.
guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and the thing is, it shows that, because even though you're not on the show anymore, I mean, let's face it, you guys still support each other,
Hmm.
back each other, and usually at some point, either on your show or his show, during the discussion with other people, your name may come up. I was playing with Colt the other day, and we were doing this,
Hmm.
or this footage is me and Colt playing, or those kind of things, and it makes you, it makes you know that that you and him, or buds for life, man.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's awesome, and that really is. And I guess, from there, your own show, boy, that kind of took off. I mean,
It's been really scary, actually.
you think?
Yeah, like when I started the show a month before Xbox's showcase last year, so
Right.
people were really excited. And then I get nervous every single week. And I don't get nervous in front of a group. I don't know what it
Right.
is. I guess I get nervous that people may not want to be there, or they may not show up, or the topics won't be exciting enough. And bringing on guests it's really tough because you and I have been talking about doing this show for like 4 months.
Yep.
And when you said something like, "Hey, how's your July looking?" I'm like, "No, let's do this. We want to do this. Let's just get it done, because there's no excuses. The excuse will just keep going on and on if we don't just buckle down and say, let's do it." Right.
Right.
So, you're asking a lot to have somebody on. You're not asking me a lot to be on the show, but sometimes people come on, well, how do I put it? You're asking them to sit for an hour or two of their free time for your benefit, I guess. That's how I look at it. Maybe I shouldn't look at it that way, but we have such a great time on the shows.
Yes.
But I tell people at the end of every show, when we hit the live button off, I'm like, thank you so much for taking your time to be here. People loved you. I know it means a lot. You know, your family was waiting for you when you got done, so that you could go, because you can't be interrupted when the red button's blinking and all that stuff. But it does mean a lot. And I don't care who you are, like, to be on this show, it's all the same. It's a great opportunity to connect with everybody. And I appreciate it as much as I hope you appreciate it.
Oh, definitely. Well, and you know, and your same thoughts you had, you know, it's like me. It's like, you know, I don't want to, how can I say, I don't want to waste your time, because to me, your time, your time is precious. Whoever is on my show, or, you know, is like, I don't want to, you know, I want to make sure that, that they have a good time. You know, I don't want them to go away, you know, like, oh,
that's it. That's it right there. Like, if you're going to have a guest on, they dang well better have an enjoyable time on the show. And
I'll do my best to make that happen. That's, you know, and you can tell that you do too. So, and that's awesome.
Yeah. If your guest is like, you know, sleeping on the mic, you're like, maybe I'm not getting it done, but no, it's a great community. Yeah. And podcasting is it's a crazy animal. It's really difficult to find the fine line between how many people are on your show or who's on your show, and me trying to find guests has been more difficult. And one of the things I ran into, Dave, was my connections with the community. I thought, I'll get a couple people from the Xbox or studio teams on once in a while, and it'll be really great. But I found out that it's very difficult to get PR to give someone to a live show. Yeah. And I didn't understand that until I started running into some, no, we can't. No, you can't. No, not this week. Or no, that's not going to work. I learned some lessons that, you know, Xbox and these other studios, they're not willing to just give their people out on an open mic with an open set of topic lists and here where you're predicting this or you're speculating that. And I should have known better, but I've done a couple interviews before I started my show. I interviewed Jason Ronald twice, and I had Major Nelson on a pre-recorded video. And but PR has been really cool. They're like, we trust you. You know, we trust that you'd give us a list of questions. But when you're in a live show and chats are coming in, it's a little Wild West. And I learned a cool lesson, and I'm okay with that. So that's why I brought Gaz on. I'm like, it would be really great to have one of my best friends on the show every week. And if I don't have a guest or I don't want to get a guest, Gaz and I can sit back and do our thing. And it's been an adjustment. I'm really enjoying it. I hope he's okay, because he's up super late.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, you can tell he loves being there, man. You could just tell it, you know. And let's be honest. I mean, there's, you know, he's quite entertaining all by himself and on the show that he does as well. But I mean, the chemistry between you two is really good. It's almost like there's times, to me, this is an outside person watching your show, that you know, there's times when you have to, you might have to kind of rein him in. but I mean, it's not, you know, but then again, but he has so much respect for you and your show that he doesn't go totally ballistic. I mean, he has his little moments and his fun stuff that he does, you know, with the censor button and that kind of stuff. So that's
and I'm quite
so funny.
I'm quite self-aware about my show. I don't go back and watch my show after the fact. So I feel like I know enough about it when I'm in the moment, but I know enough to know that my entertainment value only reaches a certain amount. I don't say anything super crazy. I am sort of like half professional, which can also be half bland. So I'm self-aware of that. And the guests can make up the other part that I can't do personally. But Gaz is really that wild and crazy Gaz is. and he's one of my best friends. So
Yeah.
I'm super grateful, and I hope that I hope that you can continue doing it. For those of you who don't know much about Gaz, he lives in the UK, so when I start the show, it's 1 a.m. He often takes a late evening nap so that he's on point for the show, and we'll see how it goes. I hope he
So
stays
far, so
alive through it.
good.
Oh
I
yeah, I hope
mean,
so.
I think he will, man. I
I
say
thank
so
him
far,
every
so
week.
good.
I
Yeah,
tell him, I
yeah,
love you, bro. Thank you so much. You know, it means a lot to me. He's like, bro, I'll be there no matter what. And I'm like, but you have to know every week that I appreciate it.
yeah,
We really
yeah.
do appreciate people that come to these shows that we do. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
said that plenty today.
But you know what? And that's one of the things that I and a lot of people like best about you, is that you're from the heart, you're yeah, it's on your sleeve, kind of thing. And it's your opinions, your views, and you care about the community, you care about the I guess the product you put out is still something that, at the end of the day, you have a respect, for everything, and and it shows, and it's great. And like I said, it's not like a throw good things at you, but
Well, one of the things I wanted to do early on was when I was getting YouTube going, I have this tagline that people might see in the beginning. This is more than gameplay. I didn't want to just talk over gameplay, because
Mhm.
I was learning how to show what you're talking about. And that's what I do in my videos. Like if I'm talking about it, it needs to be on screen, and it's on screen in some form, because I have pretty strong ADD. So like my mind will wander while I'm watching a video. If someone's talking over Killer Instinct footage for 8 minutes, I will start going, oh, that was a good combo. Oh yeah. Oh, that
Yeah,
character's really cool. And I'm not listening. So for my benefit, and hopefully for the production benefit, I keep it moving, where if I'm talking about the PlayStation, I show the console. If I'm talking about the PlayStation game, I'm trying to show the games. If I'm talking about the specs, I try to show some hardware related footage. And I just kind of learned to make these what I wanted, high production value is what I wanted. And
yeah.
some people can, like Randall Thor, can talk over a trailer or long gameplay footage, and his
Hmm.
videos do really well. But Rand also has he has a voice and an opinion that is very sought after. People are got their ear out to hear
Yes.
what Rand has to say. And Rand does a lot of opinion based stuff on his videos. But me, I'm
Hmm.
trying to present the information that I've dug into, or what the things that we know.
Hmm.
And there was a couple YouTubers I won't name that were way bigger than me that were in this gaming community, but I would watch their videos. I'm like, you're talking about Assassin's Creed, but you're showing Hydro Thunder. Like, what is this? Like, I know you want to make videos often. Like, I would tell this guy, like, why don't you sit down and record Assassin's Creed for 8 minutes and then just use that for your video at the very least?
Yeah, yeah.
But I just wanted my videos to be the best they can be. And when I sit down and make them, I'm always trying to do one up the last time I did something, and I'm learning along the way. And it can be tiring, but
Right. You put a lot
when
of
I'm
work into it, and
sitting
it shows.
and when I'm sitting here, like I'm in production mode, I'm in creation mode, and as a
Hmm.
person who illustrates, does graphic design and music and stuff, like this is my creative outlet. Because when
Yeah.
you're at your job, you don't always get to do the most creative thing. Sometimes you're like, hey, we just need it to look like this, and then let's get it printed or whatever.
Right.
So that's kind of how I approach YouTube.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, I think obviously your videos speak for themselves. It's a very high caliber product, and enjoy watching them, every single one
Thank
of them.
you.
So, you're
Thank you.
welcome. And I do also, I love your shirt, the one you're wearing right
Oh,
now.
yeah,
Your
thank you.
slogan, you end every show with that. That's awesome, man. And and it's a good phrase for everybody to take heed to,
Well,
because
there's an interesting backstory to Be Nice that kind of evolved in like 2017, I think it was, when I started using Be Nice at the end of my videos. But right before my channel started moving, I needed a PC to get into YouTube. I realized at that point that I was using the Upload Studio clips. I was taking them to the family PC, and that thing was really outdated. I told my wife, I said, I want to build a PC so that I can properly produce these videos and see if I can get this YouTube thing to take off. And she was just like, are you serious? And I spent after I got all the updates, I think I spent about $1,000 on this PC, and everyone told me, "Oh, you can get a great gaming PC and a production PC for $500." And back in 2015, I spent about $1,000 to get a bare bones. For anybody who's into PCs, I had an i5 Intel processor and I had a GTX 960, which is like a $200 GPU.
Right.
Or $300, whatever. It came with Witcher 3. But I had this pretty decent PC, and it was outdated the moment I built it. And I'm not saying that as a joke. Like, I tried to run the brand new Forza Apex, which was the 2016 Forza 6 PC version. I couldn't run it at 60 on this very new PC. I'm like, gosh dang it. So the reason I tell that story is I got so frustrated with the cost of PC and the lies that everyone says, oh, you can do this and that consoles can't do. And here I was with a $1,000 PC, and I could barely do what the Xbox One was doing. And I got so frustrated. So I made a couple of videos, Dave. I mean, they're still there, but I made a couple of videos how the PC master race is a lie.
Yeah.
And boy, did I get attacked. So the Be Nice is really about me getting attacked and harassed, and videos made about me, and people coming into my comment section and videos and ripping apart and making personal insults. And I thought, what are we doing? Like, we're all in the same community. We're all console gamers. We're all PC gamers. And of course, I got into PC for a good couple of years. I learned my lesson and I really enjoyed it. But coming back to consoles is so great. It's so nice. So nice to just have everything just working all the time, pretty much. But anyway, that's very nuanced conversation. But I enjoy being back on Xbox.
Definitely. And but I definitely understand what you mean, and it's like, a lot of the comments, when they get off subject and they're like, go at you personally. There's no need for that. There's no, it doesn't do anybody any good. If you have an opinion or a viewpoint, that's different. But if it's just attack,
yeah, that's the thing about my videos. My videos have, over the past 5 years, have mostly been, if this is my whole entire video, all of this is informational based and assessments. And then the very end might be the very 10% might be my personal quick opinion. And I made all these videos, and I try to be fair as much as I can. And like, this is how it is. And then people would attack me. I'm like, why are you attacking me? I'm trying my best to stay out of the firing range. But so I just asked people just to be nice. And then for a couple of videos, I'm like, I would see someone insult me, and I'm like, you didn't watch the whole video because I told you a really good reason why you should be nice. It was so funny. I'm so naive to think that the internet would be like, oh, for this guy's videos, we're going to be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice if it worked, but I get what you're saying, and sometimes people, because you're nice, makes them want to go after you even more.
You think that's true? I've often wondered that.
I think so. I think there's people out there that just, that want to watch the world burn.
I wonder if there's people like, because you will almost never see me call someone a moron or an idiot or a blank word or whatever. Like, I don't call people names, because I often say, why would you call someone a foul name over video games? That's really immature. But I just wonder if there's like a certain set of people like, Colt won't come at me. He's not going to attack me because his motto is be nice. And then they come at me and embarrass themselves. But
exactly. Well, I want to get to a couple more quick questions, because I know we're up against some time here. But I guess you got a really nice invitation by Microsoft to go out to their studio. I guess their office, and maybe get to see some things and talk to and they several of you, Jean-Pierre, that got to go as well too. That's pretty awesome. So what was that like? How would you kind of set you back, or you think, oh, I made it now?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I live a couple hours from Xbox's headquarters in Seattle area, so it's it's a really short drive. And back in 2019, I got, how do I explain this? I started talking to Aaron Greenberg, He liked my work. I did some graphics. He threw them on 500 t-shirts, a graphic I did, and sent it to all the
Nice.
studio people. So Aaron was like, he watched my videos. He said, I really like what you do. And so we started talking, and I said, I would really like to go to E3. I've never gone before. And he's like, well, we'll get you into E3. So my wife and I got to go to E3 in 2019, the last year they actually had it.
Yeah.
And while we were there, Tim Dog and I and my wife had dinner with Aaron, just Aaron, because we'd been talking, and Tim's talked to Aaron quite a bit. And so he's like, let's go get some food in downtown LA on one of the nights we were there in the show. So we just sat and talked, and Aaron talked about how he appreciated the work that Tim and I do and the stuff we talk about on Twitter and the YouTube videos and stuff. And it was pretty cool. And Aaron said, hey, if you ever want to come up to the studio or up to the offices, let me know, and we'll have you come up and check it out. And so I said, hey, I'll bring my family and you can show us around the offices. And so we had April of 2020 was when I was supposed to go. And in March, everything shut down for lockdown because of the thing that was going on in the world.
Yep.
So it got canceled. So it took a couple of years. And I said, hey, Aaron, do you think things will be back to normal? And he's like, well, nobody's really in the office, but you guys come on up. So last month, I think it was, we made the trip up there and went to the new office where the communications and marketing team work. And there was like 8 employees there. It was a Friday. Everyone works from home. People are rarely in the office. I met Stein, the social media guru, the one that does all the memes.
Nice.
He's hilarious, and just kind of showed us around. And Miles was up there as well. And so Miles and I got to have dinner, and everyone had this big speculation that Miles and I were going to be hosting the showcase, which was a major thing. Yeah. It was a major thing we had to deal with, because we tried to tell people that we weren't in the showcase, but they thought we were holding on to NDA. And it was, I don't know. I wouldn't consider it messy. I just like, what am I going to say? I've told people I'm not in the showcase. And they're like, well, you keep your secrets, Colt.
But now they know, right?
Yeah, now they know.
But still, that's pretty awesome that Aaron did that for you, man. That's
it's very cool.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, like I said, I mean, you put out a great product. I keep saying that, but I mean, it's true, and your content is nothing short of amazing. And it's, obviously, he has you in a high regard because of the content things that you put out. I think it's great. And I guess
Aaron Greenberg is really, really laser focused on the community. He talks to Dealer very often, and Dealer makes excellent videos, and Aaron will share those or give feedback on those, because they're listening to what the rest of the community is saying. And when I was at FanFest a couple weeks ago, Aaron highlighted Ben Kenobi, who's an incredible graphic designer, put him up on the stage at FanFest and highlighted his work. And him and Phil Spencer have used Ben's profile pictures. And I aspire to be the greatest graphic designer I can be. And when I look at his work, I'm like, dang, man, he's really great. And props to this community, the Xbox executives and leadership. They know how important this community is, and they've been really, really good to people like Paris and Danny and some of us other smaller content creators to, kind of give us props and kind of keep us in the loop of what's going on. They'll send Dealer and Rand and I, early interviews that we can check out that we have to hold on to until a certain date before we share any information. It's been very, very cool to kind of keep us in the loop where some of the big media people are sitting. So we're super grateful.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And it shows too, Colt. It really does. That's like I said, I hope that relationship continues, because it's awesome. So I guess it's kind of, as we start to wrap things up, I want to, go back to gaming. I guess you're, what is the game? Like I said, because you may have some inside knowledge that's been announced that you're looking forward to the most, whenever it may come out. What is like the game that you're like, man, I can hardly wait to play this?
It might have been Avowed, but after seeing Starfield, I'm in the camp where I'm not disappointed in that showing. The only thing I'm disappointed in is that 30 FPS presentation. And Starfield looks like that game that I will be so immersed in. And of course, Redfall looks amazing. And there's so many games I'm looking forward to, but Starfield's been put at the top. And I also know that we're probably going to be playing it in the next 10 months is probably when it's coming out. They may push to June. And if they push to early fall because they want that extra polish, we've already waited this long. There'll be plenty to play. There's already a ton of games. So Starfield's probably at my top right now because of all the time. I've beaten Fallout 4 twice on PC and on Xbox. I've beaten the game. I've played, 100 hours of Skyrim back in the day. I just love those games. Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 are amazing. I'm really looking forward to Starfield most of all.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Cool. Colt, I can't thank you enough for your time today. I really appreciate it. The last thing I'll ask is, if you don't mind, just tell everybody, where they can find you and where they can, get to you on social media and reach out to you like I did, which is, like I said, I really appreciate you. I know you're busy, and I'm sure you get a lot of requests. I know you do. I know you get a lot of requests, but I appreciate you getting back with me, and that it means a lot. And so thank you.
Oh, no, you're welcome. You can find me on Twitter at Colt Eastwood, where I answer every single DM. But on Xbox Live, don't message me there. I've got a backup of messages. I would use Xbox, but it's just so cumbersome to get to the replies and reply to them there on the app. If they made it a little quicker, I would catch up. But anybody can catch me on Twitter. But I'm also on YouTube every week. But thank you so much. It's at Colt Eastwood, one word. And I'm just grateful that we're able to do this and having fun. It's going to be quiet this summer. Things are quieted down. Xbox has announced everything they have out until they're ready to talk again. So I hope they are thinking about, Xbox, you're thinking about XO 2022. We would love to have another big event where they announce big things and celebrate the platform. And thank you so much, Dave, for having me on. I had a good time. It's a really good time.
Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. And everybody can, of course, catch us at outbreakpodcast.com. And here on internet, and we're all our social links will be there at outbreakpodcast.com, and of course below in the description, as well as Colt's links, and everything will be there for your convenience as well. And thanks to everybody, and thank you, Colt, for being here at Outbreak Gamers.